Hi everyone, so in this video we're going to discuss why construction and interior design business stay small. So this video is part 2 of this series, and in the part 1 I've explained everything in detail why your construction business, your interior business is stagnant and why it's very hard to scale your business, right? So it's a natural phenomena, and I've explained everything in that part in the video. I'll link that in the description. Go and watch it there. So let's just dive right in. So a lot of the ideas that I explain and I discuss in this video is from book 0 to 1. So this book is by far the best business book that I've ever read. So this book is written by not just some university professor with a degree in philosophy, but a billionaire, right? So he has the track record to defend his ideas. So this book is written by Peter Thiel, who is a $20 billion investor in Silicon Valley. He's famous for investing in companies such as Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, and he's also the co-founder of, PayPal. So the main idea of this book is all the successful companies have one thing in common, and all the unsuccessful companies have another thing in common. And the thing is, all the successful companies are a monopoly in their own market, such as Google is a monopoly in search engine, Facebook is a monopoly in social media, right? And all the unsuccessful companies, all the mom and pop shop, all the restaurant, right? All these struggling businesses, they fail to escape the competition. So they're just some 30th restaurant in their city, or they are just some 40th cleaning business in their city. So that's the main difference. And he goes all the way to quote that competition is for losers. And why? Because if you lose a competition, if you just lose from your competitor, you lose, right? But if you win, you still lose. Why? Because you have so much less profit margins, because you have decreased your price so much to get the business that you have just enough profit margins to stay afloat and sustain your expenses, and you don't have anything to invest back into your business. So that's why competition is for losers. If you win, you lose. If you lose, you lose, right? So so I'm just gonna in a speech in Stanford, he basically draws a very distinct description of two different markets. So I'm just gonna play the video. So in this speech, I'll also link this speech that he gave in Stanford in the description. So in this speech, he basically outlines two different industries, right? So one is US Airlines and another is Google, and he tries to compare a perfectly monopolistic business versus a perfectly competed business, right? So let me just play the video.
Be very big, Y can be very small, X can be of intermediate size, and if Y is reasonably big, you can still get a very big business.
So in this part, what he explains is a business basically, the business value is dependent on two things. First, the value of the market, and second, the value that it is able to capture, right? So a business, you might create a certain value for your customers, but if you are not able to capture any value, you might not still make money. So these are totally different independent variables. How much value you create for your marketplace, and second is how much of that value you are able to capture back as profit. So
to create a valuable company, you have to basically both create something of value and capture some fraction of the value of what you've created. And sort of just to illustrate this as a contrast, if you sort of compare the U.S. airline industry with a company like Google on search, if you sort of measure by the size of these industries, you could say that airlines are still more important than search. If you just measure it, say, by revenues, it was 195 billion in domestic revenues in 2012. Google had just north of 50 billion, and certainly, sort of on some intuitive level, if you were given a choice and said, well, do you want to get rid of all air travel, or do you want to get rid of your ability to use search engines? the intuition would be that air travel is something that's more important than search. And this is, of course, just the domestic numbers. If you looked at this globally, airlines are much, much bigger than search or than Google is. But the profit margins are quite a bit less. They were marginally profitable in 2012. I think the entire 100-year history of the airline industry, the cumulative profits in the U.S. have been approximately zero. The companies make money, they episodically go bankrupt, they get recapitalized, and you sort of cycle and repeat. And this is reflected in the combined market capitalization of the airline industries, maybe something of the U.S. airline industry, something like a quarter that of Google. So you have a search engine much, much smaller than air travel, but much more valuable. And I think this reflects these very different valuations on X and Y.
So what he explains in this video is basically a US airline market. The whole airline transportation market is much, much bigger. It's $200 billion market, whilst the search engine advertising market is probably around $50 billion, right? So despite Google operating in a 4 times smaller market, Google valuation, the valuation of the whole Google company is 4 times more than all the market capitalization of US airlines combined. Why is that? It's not because it's not because Google is operating in some bigger market, right? So as you can see, Google is operating far less smaller market. The only reason that Google has such a higher valuation is because Google is a monopoly, right? Google has 21% profit, while US airlines combined has a 0.2% profit. So that's why Google is far more valuable, far more profitable, far more better company to run than a airline company, right? So that's the same for your construction or interior design business. You might be the 30th contractor, and there are still a lot of contractors or interior designers who are getting their license, and in the next few years you'll have few more thousands of contractors and interior designers that are coming in your market, and they'll just decrease the profit margins of across all the businesses. And yeah, so that's the main idea of the book. And now let's just look at some data and try to see and verify this theory, because it's not a theory, right? It's a fact. So we're gonna prove it. So let's look at some data. So here's the thing, right? The easier it is for someone to get into your industry, the lower the profit margins and the less customer you'll get. What it means is, first, if your industry has a very low entry barrier, you'll have a lot of players. What that means is you're gonna have to drive your profit margin low, because your competitor is charging way less. So your prospects will not afford you, right? If you're way expensive than them. So you have to try to match their prices, and also they'll take your customers away. So it's affecting your business in 2 ways, right? First, you make way less for each customer, and you'll also get less customers, because those newcomers, they will steal your customers. So that's the thing, right? So now what we'll do is we'll look at some data, and this data is basically, first we'll look at the jobs. We'll look at all the jobs from the from the lowest paid job to all the way to highest paid job. So we'll look at the McDonald's staff all the way to surgeon, and we'll also look at the businesses and try to see the pattern, right? So I hope you can see this. So basically, the lowest paid jobs across all the countries is manual labor, or you might be working in a restaurant or a service staff or a department store. They basically earn around $10 to $20 per hour. And as you go up this hierarchy, you have a skilled contractor who's making $20 to $40 per hour. You have an agency owner or a freelancer who's making $40 to $80 per hour. You have a lawyer who's making $70 to $120 per hour, and at the epitome, you have surgeon who's making all the way up to $150 per hour, right? So why is the structure this way, right? Why is it structured this way? Why does a retail guy, why does he earn way less than surgeon? Because the answer is simple. It ties back to what Peter Thiel said in his book, right? Competition. The fact is that manual labor, it's very easy, right? Anybody can just get in. You just need two hands and two legs and a brain, a simple or functioning brain, and that's all you need to get into this space. And that you have anybody can just fill up your spot, and that's why you get charged way less, right? And especially with all different countries such as Australia or America, you have a lot of immigrants coming in your country, right? These immigrants or these people, they work half the price that you work, and that just making things worse and worse, because now average American might have to work for $7. Why? Because there is a young guy who just came from another third world country, and he's willing to work for $5 an hour. So it doesn't make sense for the employer to pay some US guy $7, right? So that's the thing. You just competition is a losing him, right? And more the entry of barrier. So the higher the entry of barrier is. So for example, for trade person, you still need a license, right? The pay is relatively better, and as you go up all the way to surgeon, which requires 4 years of medical degree, and you need to pass a lot of exams to get your license. Yeah, that's why they get paid way better, because the entry of barrier is so high that there are way less surgeons than needed. So that's the reason, and it reflects in the business as well, right? So it reflects in the businesses that are built from these skills. So what is built from manual labor is a cleaning business or a lawn moving business or a restaurant, right? These businesses make way less than businesses such as private clinic, which is a bunch of surgeons providing service, right? Why? Because it's difficult to build a restaurant business than a clinic business. To build a clinic business, it's way difficult, right? So that's the same thing. What I'm saying is it's true for business as well. The higher the entry of barrier, the better you are, right? And the more, because there is way less competition just because the entry of barrier is higher. So that's true for businesses as well. And this is what is as you can see in the screen. This is what is listed. So average service business makes probably around $2,400 to $3,600 per month. Trade person like you'll probably make around $10,000 to $15,000 per month. And doctors or surgeons or clinic owners, they make $100,000 to $150,000 per month, because as I said, competition. So yeah, so if you had to take away anything from this video, it should be that you should try to escape the competition, because if you just keep doing what you're doing, and if you just don't think about competition, and just try to stay stagnant, you'll stay stagnant, right? Because think what will happen in the next year. Thousands of other contractors and interior designers will get their license, and they will come to your space, and then just drive the profit margins away, take your potential clients, take your current clients, and yeah, you are in a losing game. Congratulations. So try to find a way to escape the competition, and there is a way, and that's what I'm going to discuss in the part 3 of this video. In the part 3, we're going to discuss how you can escape the competition and build a great business. That's going to be the topic of the part 3. So yeah, if you run a trade business, or you are a contractor, you are an interior designer, then you should subscribe to this channel, because I drop valuable content every single week. So I'll see you next time.